Hello, everybody. My name is Maxim Rush, and I'm with my friends Scargut and Jasu
What's
here.
good?
And
Yeah.
today we are interviewing a very special guest, Daniel Parker,
The chosen one.
The Daniel
the
Parker,
chosen one himself.
the one and only.
So, for anyone who's a Sonic the Hedgehog fan, in the 2005 Shadow the Hedgehog game had a bunch of vocal tracks, and Daniel is the guy who sang "The Chosen One." So. We're very excited to have him on to talk and because he's kind of been off grid, not really off grid, but like kind of in the ether for years and years since that song came out. So we thought it would be. I tracked him down a couple years ago and got his number, and we've been texting for a few years now. And I thought it'd be a good idea to interview him and just kind of see how things are going. So
I also go by Danny Parker Drums on Instagram because I'm a drummer as well. That's one of the things I do.
all right, for apart from the introduction I gave you, and what else can you tell us about yourself? Just in general.
Oh, just in general. I mean, I started out as a drummer a long time ago, and the first band I was in as a drummer was a band called Shake the Faith, which had Tommy Thayer, who is the guitar player for Kiss since 2000. Yeah, since 2000, he's been the guitar player for Kiss. That was my guitar player in that band, Shake the Faith. And just about a year or so ago, we re-released digitally our record that was supposed to be like almost like the next Guns N' Roses or something back in that time, just before grunge music hit. And we were the biggest band in LA, and at our shows, the fire marshal would shut it down because we would be over capacity at our shows, and the audience would consist of like members of Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, and all those bands that were famous at the time, Warrant, you name it. If they weren't on tour, they were at our show, and we were supposed to be the next biggest band in the world. And then grunge music hit, and Nirvana came out, and that canceled our career. But our guitar player went on to be in Kiss, so he did all right. And the singer of that band went on to be Diggity Dave of Pimp My Ride, who years later we did Hollywood Gods and Monsters with. So my history goes all the way back to the early 90s, starting with that band. And then after that, I was in a band called Three Penny Needle, which was a post-grunge, mid-90s alternative band. They got a pretty big record deal, and we had a deal with the world's first interactive multimedia record label that before MP3s came out, they had invented, the owner of that company who had started the interactive encyclopedia in the early internet days in the 90s.
Like Wikipedia?
Yeah, but it was like an online encyclopedia, like the set of books. He was the first person to make a online encyclopedia before they even had Wikipedia, and he also patented and invented something similar to the MP3 format. Yeah, it was 1994, and he had already invented a format of compressed audio pre MP3s called what was it called? It was called M Tracks is what they called it. It was called M Tracks. He started the world's first interactive record label. And the guy had like massive amounts of money. So, and there was a whole new idea it was like 1995, and he was talking about compressed audio files and how in the future, people will have their albums on a little small hard drive, and nobody had even like thought about, they didn't even have thumb drives then. And so we would be joking about it. Oh, eventually our record's going to be on a thumb drive and on a little mini hard drive thing, and you'll just plug it into the computer and all this stuff. But at the time, this company had like more money than God, and they were producing interactive 3D environment CDs that they called enhanced CDs. So if you bought the CD, you could play it in your CD player, but you could also stick it in your computer, and there would be all this multimedia content, video and like 3D interactive environments that were like video games and stuff like that. And they were doing, when we got our record deal in this band, Three Penny Needle, at the time, they had already produced multiple interactive CDs for big artists that weren't even signed to their label. They just did it to show that they could do it. So they had done one for Soundgarden for their Super Unknown record. They had done
sick.
one. They had done one for Madonna. They had done one for Terrence Trent D'Arby, and they did one for Annie Lennox, and they did one for Elvis called Virtual Graceland. And at the time, Rob Zombie was involved in making his
Rob Zombie?
Rob Zombie was doing one with that company, but he was doing all his own animation for it.
Oh
And so this record label had so much money that they had an office in San Diego with 40 full-time employees all using Photoshop in 1995. Yeah, and so they didn't even actually have any records released, and they had spent all that money developing all this stuff. And that was back when they were on like the Pentium 2 computer. So to do any of that kind of stuff on the computers, it was asking a lot back then, because now a phone is like 100 times faster than any of the fastest computers they had, Their entire warehouse of like 40 full-time employees was less powerful than an iPhone back then, And so it was quite expensive. They spent a lot of money making that stuff. So our band Three Penny Needle, we ended up having a really cool interactive CD that had 2 videos on it that were pretty high budget, and there was like a flyover of like a 3D city. So you could be on your computer and you could use your mouse and like go through, and we had a virtual city with like graffiti, and the band, like our posters of each member were virtually posted on the walls in this virtual city. And there was even like a payphone, and you could go up and click on it and dial a phone number, and it would say something about the band. And then if you saw the poster of one of the members of the band like on the wall in this virtual city, you could click on it, and then it would show behind the scenes video footage from making our record. It was really advanced for 1995. And when the album came out, we got interactive CD of the year from the Apple website at the time. I wish I had saved screenshots of all that stuff because but I
Lost
didn't.
media.
But I like to think that, Steve Jobs himself actually saw our CD because it was on the front page of the Apple website at the time in 1995.
Really? Hold
Yeah.
on a second. We could get like apple.com?
Yeah, we in 1995 or 1996 maybe, we've got interactive CD of the year award from Apple with the band Three Penny Needle. But I mean, it's just so long ago. I don't even have I have copies of the CD, but you have to have like Windows 90. I think it worked all the way up through like Windows 98 or something.
Daniel, weren't you part of Bang Tango at one point as well?
That was in 1999, 98, and 99. And I played on one of their records.
Oh.
Called Greatest Tricks.
Because if I remember right, Kyle from Mona Lisa Overdrive, which used to be A2, who did Chosen One, was in Bang Tango as well, right?
Yeah, he was the original founding member of that band.
Oh wow.
With
Sweet.
with the singer, and So after this Three Penny Needle band, the record company went bankrupt because the owner of the company spent all his money on drugs and hookers and stripper bars, flying people around on airplanes and living the La Vida Loco. and so that never happened.
Yeah.
I went on to join Bang Tango for a while when they were doing a comeback, and I played on one of their records, and then I produced a bunch of rock tribute albums in 2000, and during the time after Bang Tango, the singer Joe Lestay and myself formed a band called Beautiful Creatures that got signed to Warner Brothers by the same guy who had recently signed Linkin Park.
Oh wow!
So we got signed while Linkin Park was still working on their first record. And we were this band, Beautiful Creatures, was the second band to get signed by this guy to Warner Brothers. And Beautiful Creatures came out, but I had quit the band over personal differences before the album was made. But that album was produced and recorded by Sean Bevan, who did Antichrist Superstar and The Downward Spiral.
Oh
records.
shit! Nine
That's
Nails.
the big name. That's the big ones. That's
He
the big ones.
actually got the gig producing the record for Warner Brothers for Beautiful Creatures because I told the A&R guy, Jeff Blue, that he would be the perfect guy to produce the record. So he actually got the gig because of me, because I spent a whole year convincing the record company that Sean Bevan needed to do our album, because we were supposed to be fusing the sound of AC/DC with the sound of industrial music to create kind of like an industrial AC/DC band that had classic.
That'd be interesting. I'd love to
Yeah,
hear
because-
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it never actually happened that way though. But
That's a shame.
I had pitched that idea as how the sound should go, because Jeff Blue had created the sound of Linkin Park by fusing modern rock with rap.
Yeah.
That was his whole premise with the hybrid theory, and
Yeah.
the original name of Linkin Park was Hybrid Theory, and they changed it to Linkin Park and made the album Hybrid Theory. But the idea was the hybrid of two sounds, hip hop and rock, right?
Yeah. I'm a big Linkin Park fan, so I know that.
Yeah, so I was like, well, we got signed as a band that sounded authentically like AC/DC, but when Jeff Blue ended up being the guy who signed us, I was like, well, why don't we blend it with industrial music and get Sean Bevan to produce the record, because he'd be the perfect guy to pull that off. And so we made we ended up with that band, Beautiful Creatures, for like a year. We wrote all different styles of music, including, we had like songwriters coming in, and we had some songs that sounded like we were like, we did like every kind of band. We did songs that sounded like we were like, you know, like a Warped Tour band sound, and we did some songs that sounded like we were Aerosmith. But our original demo sounded exactly like Bon Scott AC/DC. That was the original thing that got us signed. And I didn't like the fact that they were trying to have us try all these other kinds of music. I just wanted to do a blend of industrial music with AC/DC. So I just kept pushing that as a member of the band. And eventually we did a demo that ended up having that sound, and it almost kind of sounded like Rob Zombie meets AC/DC, and it was really, really cool, and I liked it. And then we did 3 shows opening for Kiss on their farewell tour in 2000, and then they decided they weren't going to do that kind of music. They weren't going to do the industrial blend. They were just going to do something more like Buck Cherry or something, and I just didn't want to do it. And I had a really big ego and thought it would be a good idea to quit the band and tell them to F off. Because I wanted to do something that had some sort of electronic element in it. I didn't want to just do a regular rock band anymore. So I quit. And they came out with their album, and they had Glenn Sobel, drummer who plays for Alice Cooper, replace me. and I didn't play on the record at all. But Sean got the gig producing that record, and I don't think to this day he knows that I got him the job.
Oh well.
What band did you say you were friends with though?
The other band I was friends with was Coal Chamber, which is a whole nother thing that I left out. Is Coal Chamber had broken up, and this was around the time when I had done my Odyssey demos, and I was hanging out with Meigs from Coal Chamber, who is now, they're back together out touring now. And Meigs had wanted to do something that wasn't like Cookie Monster rock. He wanted to do something more industrial. So he had made his own demo, and he had a little competition where he put out one of the songs off his demo and had a bunch of people sing over it. And I wrote a song of lyrics and vocals over the top of one of his instrumental songs. And his stripper girlfriend, my song reminded me of her cat that just died. And so he picked me as the singer for his new band, which was called Piñata. And so I was actually in the first band that Meigs did after Coal Chamber broke up in 2003 in a band called Piñata, which is how I met Shane Fritz, the guitar player, because he was a fan. And we worked on that band I was in that band for like over a year. And we played 3 or 4 sold out shows in Los Angeles where every record company in the world and every famous heavy band in the world was in the audience. I mean, Fear Factory, all the bands we were mentioning earlier, Korn, everybody was in the audience at our show. And that was quite interesting. That band also broke up before we did a record, and I didn't actually end up singing on their first record. I was in that band for a year, and we even had Ivan from Five Finger Death Punch in his old band Motogrator.
Yes.
Came out to our rehearsal, and I remember rehearsing, singing all the entire set of the band Piñata directly to Ivan's face and the rest of the band Motogrator that he was in before Five Finger Death Punch. And here's another funny thing, is since actually he didn't, what happened was Ivan started his own band separate, and he left the band that was that, and this is even fucking, every time someone asks me a question, I realize how deep the plot goes. So Ivan was in a band with the guys from Piñata on Capitol Records. Ivan leaves to go do maybe Motogrator or something. And so then they auditioned singers for that band on Capitol Records. And guess who auditioned for that band? Diggity Dave from Pimp My Ride, who was the singer of Hollywood Gods and Monsters and Shake the Faith. And he didn't get the gig because they said he sounded too much like a regular 90s rock singer. So he got denied. And when he found out that I became the singer for Meigs' band, and Meigs' backup band was all the guys from the band where he got rejected, he fucking hated me. He's like, how the fuck does my old drummer, who's never sang in a band in his life, get into this band and I can't? Little side note, but how all this is all connected is so bizarre to me. It's just so crazy. It's like you can draw a whole chart and somehow everything's connected to everything that I've ever done. It's insane. Which unfortunately, because of MySpace going away and because of all the early internet stuff going away, none of that's really like findable. But in 2003, we had like 150,000 fans on our fan forum. We had like a whole fan forum thing that was almost like Reddit, where like all our stuff was uploaded. I mean, it was like massively huge. Like we were like world famous and shit.
Wow.
Well, I can't find any of that.
Vaporized completely off the internet. It's like it never even happened.
Yeah.
There was
Will we
video.
get, like,
footage. We even had video footage on YouTube. There was a girl who was getting famous. We almost got the guy who wanted to manage us managed Billy Corrigan. He wanted to be our manager, and he was like a huge fan of the band. Invited us over to his house and went over my lyrics with me, and he said that my lyrics for Piñata were his favorite lyrics of any band he had heard since Billy Corgan. It was crazy. And it was some of the best lyrics I ever wrote. And actually, I want to take some of the lyrics. In fact, eventually I want to take all the lyrics that I did for Piñata and put them into new songs, because they can all be put into new songs. Like I can hear like let's say a Dead Mouse track or something, or any kind of like cool new instrumental electronic song, and I can sing the entire Piñata songs with different melodies over the top of any track. So, because the lyrics are just cool, and I wrote them, and I can just make up new melodies to them. I love my lyrics so much because they were all very personal to me and very interesting. And I intend on bringing all the lyrics from the Piñata demos into Mona Lisa Overdrive songs, quite honestly. And if I didn't do that, I'll do them as a side project.
Do we ever listen to them somewhere, or like you don't have access to them?
That's interesting. Yeah. I could. I mean, I can.
Yeah, if you could send those to me, that'd be great.
I have copies of them, and I'd love that stuff to get leaked. I'd love it to be put up on YouTube with like the band promo photo and everything. I'd be all over that.
I could do that.
Quote unquote leak songs.
Yeah, because those are. I mean, if anything's a lost track, I mean that's where I learned how to develop my personal style of singing, and you can definitely hear Mona Lisa Overdrive type of sound, because it's my singing style all over it.
That could hype up Mona Lisa Overdrive. If we slowly leak these songs, people get interested, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's great. It's good stuff. I mean, it's very industrial. The music is extremely cool. Sounds like nothing else anyone's ever heard. And we have one person to thank for having archived all the Piñata stuff, including the artwork and all that music. The person responsible for that, because he was a fan, is Rich Jeswick, who's the guitar player for September Morning. I don't know if you're familiar with him. She's got a whole comic book series, and her whole character, September Morning. She's like a superhero.
September Morning.
Yeah. So Rich Jeswick, the writer for September Morning and the guitar player, he was a fan of Piñata, and so he actually archived, I think, 11 gigabytes of Piñata material.